Have you bought this crochet kit from Kmart? Are you completely confused by the instructions? If so, know that you're not alone. Throw the instructions away, watch this tutorial instead, and I'll show you how to make this set of coasters. So I'm not actually sure if Kmart still sells this kit. I bought this quite a while ago and I can't see it on their website anymore. But it is a really great pattern for beginners. It's super simple and it works out really fast. So if you would like to make these coasters and you can't get your hands on this kit, then I would suggest grabbing your own yarn and crochet hook. I would use a 8, 10 or 12 ply yarn and then use whatever crochet hook is listed as the recommended crochet hook on the yarn label. The kit uses acrylic yarn. I think you could use any wool or acrylic yarn for this pattern. If you want to use your coasters, however, for anything that gets super hot, then you might want to stick with wool yarn rather than acrylic. Okay, so this is what you get included in the kit. You get yarn in 4 different colors. There is a crochet hook included, as well as a tapestry needle and some stitch markers, along with the instruction manual. Now I find these crochet hooks are really hard to use, so I'm going to use my own crochet hook in the size 4. Now these crochet hooks actually run a little bit small, so if you are using the included one, I'd use the larger end, the end that says 4mm, but just be aware that this is actually a little bit smaller than a 4mm hook in reality. Okay, to start your coaster you need to do a magic circle. So to do a magic circle, you want to hold your yarn tail facing down in your left hand and then wrap the yarn around your first 2 fingers underneath and then cross over the top like so. Then you want to insert your crochet hook under this top strand here, grab the second strand of yarn, pull it through and twist it on top like so. Then we're going to grab this strand of yarn and pull it through the loop on your hook. And that's a magic circle. And now we're going to do 12 double crochets into the magic circle. So when working into the magic circle, it's just like working into a stitch, except instead of inserting your hook into the stitch, you just insert it into the middle of the circle like so. And then we're going to do a double crochet. So to do a double crochet, you want to yarn over, then insert your hook into the circle, yarn over again and pull up a loop. You'll now have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. You'll now have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. And that's your first double crochet. Now because we're working in the round, it's really important to use your stitch marker to mark the first stitch of the round so that we know when we are at the end of our round. Now you want to do 11 more double crochets. Once you've done your 12 double crochets, you can close up your magic circle by just pulling on the yarn tail, and it will close your work into a little circle like so. We're going to do 12 double crochet increases, so that means you're doing 2 double crochets into the very same stitch. So we'll yarn over, insert your hook back into that first stitch that has the stitch marker, and do a double crochet. Now you want to move your stitch marker into that stitch we've just done, because that's now our first stitch of round 2. And then you want to do a second double crochet back into the same stitch. And that's an increase. And so we'll do that in each stitch, where we'll do 2 double crochets into each stitch. So by the end of round 2, you'll have 24 stitches. Now for round 3, we're going to alternate between double crochets and double crochet increases. So into the first stitch, stitch with your stitch marker, you want to do a single double crochet and move your stitch marker. And then into the next stitch you want to do an increase. so 2 double crochets into that next stitch. And then we'll just repeat this pattern around. So a single double crochet into the next stitch and an increase into the stitch after that. And you'll keep repeating this pattern all the way around for row 3, and by the end of row 3 you'll have 36 stitches. Now for round 4, we'll do 2 double crochets into the first 2 stitches, followed by an increase, and then repeat that pattern 12 times. So into the first stitch we'll do a single double crochet, into the second stitch we'll do a single double crochet, and then into the third stitch we'll do a increase, so 2 double crochets into that third stitch. And then just repeat this around, and by the end of row 4 you'll have 48 stitches. Now for round 5, there's actually an error in the written instructions. Basically the math doesn't math. So don't follow what's written in the instructions. Instead you want to do 3 double crochets into the first 3 stitches and then an increase, and you'll repeat that pattern 12 times and you'll have 60 stitches by the end of row 5. Okay, now for round 6, which is our final round, and this is when we'll do the little scalloped border. So you're going to start round 6 with a single crochet. Then you'll skip the next stitch and into the one after that, so the third stitch. We're going to do 5 double crochets all into that same stitch. Then we're going to skip the stitch after that, and just note that this stitch might be hiding a little bit under the double crochets that you've just done. So we skip that next stitch and then do a single crochet in the stitch after that. Skip the next stitch and then another 5 double crochets. Then we skip the next stitch and just keep repeating this pattern of a single crochet, skip a stitch, 5 double crochets, skip a stitch. And in total you'll do this 15 times. So firstly, apologies for the cat's butt in my background. Now, super frustratingly, I have run out of yarn by the time that I got to my final scallop. This is an issue that I've had with most of the Kmart kits. They just don't include enough yarn to finish your project, which is super frustrating. So if you have enough yarn, you should have 15 little scallops by the end. I've actually only got 14, but I'll show you how to finish off. In your second to last stitch, you'll be doing your 5 double crochets, and then your final stitch is a skip stitch. But to help close off your work, it's good to do a slip stitch into that final stitch instead. So just assume that this is the stitch with my stitch marker, that this is my first stitch of the round. You just insert your crochet hook into that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You'll have 2 loops on your hook, and then you want to pull this loop through the one on your hook, and that's a slip stitch, and that'll help just kind of close off the end of the round. And then you want to fasten off. So to do that, you want to cut a yarn tail if you still have quite a lot of yarn left, and then just yarn over and pull that yarn tail all the way through, pull that tight, and that'll just create a knot so that your work won't come undone. And now our final step is just to weave in our ends. So you'll have 2 yarn ends. You'll have your initial yarn tail from where we started, and your final one as well. So the way to tell which way is the right way of the work to face up is your yarn tail will be poking through on the wrong side of the work. So weaving in is just a way to secure our end so it doesn't come undone. And you just want to thread that yarn tail onto that needle. And then we're just going to weave our needle in and through a few different stitches. You want to work under about 4 or 5 stitches in total, and ideally you want to work in at least 3 different directions. You want to be doing this on the wrong side of your work. And then once you've woven through a few different stitches, you can just trim the excess tail off. Then we just want to do the same thing with this tail. Insert your tapestry needle under that first stitch, which will be a little bit higher if you're working back into the first stitch. Then that just helps create a little bit more of a clean edge. Then you can go back through to the back side of your work and weave in your end in the same way. And that's our first coaster complete. So you can repeat this process with the other 3 coloured yarn to make your 4 coasters.